Customer success is becoming much more commercial, and quite frankly, I think it's a necessary move. A lot of things that we talk about is we want a seat at the table, but if you don't own a revenue number of some sort, it's really hard to get like any realistic input because you're just seen as a cost center. And so I think that like this sort of training, if you want. At the same time, if you want your CSMs to be commercial, you do need to train them. You need to offer them tools so they feel much more comfortable having those conversations. Because you and I know that people are afraid of being salesy, but if you're really working with your customer, you understand their problems, you have solutions that can help them solve their problems and grow their business, they want to know about that.
Hello, and welcome to a brand new season of the Transform Sales Podcast. This season, we are shaking things up. We are bringing people from different walks of life. And so today, I am so delighted to have Cinthia Silva with me today, and she is a customer success leader. How are you, Cinthia?
Doing great. Thanks so much, Wesleyan.
I am so delighted to talk to you. Let me tell everybody a bit about you. Cinthia is a customer success leader working at the FinTech division of NASDAQ. She spent the bulk of her career in client-facing roles and has developed collaborative relationships that helps her clients grow their business. She is a strong believer in thought leadership initiatives and community-led growth, which has led to opportunity to share her insight on podcasts and interviews, as well as being recognized as one of the top 25 customer success influencers of 2023. All right, Cinthia, you're going to have to tell us, how did you get started and how did you get to where you are today?
Fair enough. I know that was a lot of information, right? Yeah. I mean, really, as you stated, I've spent all my career really in client-facing roles. I really enjoyed working with clients, helping them, building relationships, helping them solve problems. And really early on, I worked on trading desks at two different banks in New York and Seattle. And I then moved on to sponsorship sales for investor meetings in EMEA and LATAM. But in the end, I saw my long-term growth in tech and ultimately pivoted to customer success for NASDAQ's FinTech division. And quite frankly, I haven't looked back.
Wow. Okay, so you're going to have to roll us back. You worked on a trading desk, and I don't think that there are that many women on trading desks on the trading floor. So tell us, what was that experience like for you, and what were some of the highlights of your time on the trading desk?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you're right. There tends to not be. Hopefully, it's different nowadays. But yeah, there definitely weren't a lot of women. And I got to be honest. When I joined, and my first bank, I just felt like complete imposter syndrome, and that was before that was a term. I was like, I snuck in the side door somehow. I don't want anyone to know what I don't know, and it was really pretty much just kind of jumping in to the from the frying pan into the fire. It felt at sometimes. It's a lot of, in our instance, this was derivatives trading. So there was negotiating as opposed to equities where people are like, I want to buy now, which is insane. And that's all algorithms now. There was negotiation involved. There was contracts that needed to be done, and then we'd be ready to trade. But it was incredibly stressful. And, but I did, the people I work with were smart, interesting. Some of my biggest takeaways were working at large corporations. I realized that not only did we have to be good to and add value to our external partners, but our internal partners as well. So people in the back office, middle office, the receptionist, anybody. I like to say it's nice to be nice. And it really does pay off. Because at the end of the day, when you're trying to get things done, you need to collaborate internally to better serve your customers. And I've taken that everywhere I've gone. And it's funny because I just wrote yesterday about this about silos. Those are the bane of every company's existence. And if you find ways to kind of interact and work with others, I think to get things done much more efficiently.
So how did you develop that collaborative spirit? Because in an industry like you came from, it's not about collaboration. It's about kind of each person on their own. Whoever can kill the most, eats the most. How did you really develop that spirit of collaboration?
Well, it's a good question too, because I do think it could be very dog eat dog. It was very much like, hey, you're on your own, to some extent. I think in the end, it was just, me thinking, I'm not sure how to, move this from here to there or get help on XYZ. And I just thought, why don't I just try to ask someone, you know what I mean? Like, and like say, who, and, ask a colleague, who's the person that's responsible for X? And they'd say, oh, it's Joni. And then just call in. I think even now, humanizes the interaction and saying, hey, Joni, I know that you're responsible for XYZ, or am I wrong? Or these are some of the things I'm trying to get done, and just trying to have conversations human to human. And I think, again, that's probably why I've really enjoyed client facing roles, because you know what that's like. Nothing is better than that human interaction, and where people really get to know you as a person and they want to work with you.
Really, like people are like, "Oh, are you in B to C, B to G, B to B?" I'm like, I am human to human. I am a human selling to another human. And if people really took that as gospel, like I am a human and I sell to another human, then it would cut down so many of these preconceived notions that we have. And we're always putting on airs. We always feel like we have to do all this stuff. But how do you talk to another human? Right? Do you talk to another human like you're a robot?
It's so true. And that's a great point too, because now too, with everybody's talking about AI, right? And how to leverage it. And I think it's a great tool that we all need to be using and figure out how to like implement in our personal and work life. But I think a lot of the customers, or the at scale outreach, is using AI, and they're seeing a lot of mistakes. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I mean, a lot of people are kind of pointing out things that, like, clearly you put this in ChatGPT, sent it, and didn't even look at it. Come on now. We're better than that.
Are we though? I mean,
We are.
I see. The thing is, I get so many emails, right? So many automated emails, prospecting emails. And I can tell when somebody has used some type of AI, because they're like, wow, I see that you are a XYZ at XYZ, some secondary position. Or I think I got one the other day that said, man, CFOs really do. I'm like, where on my profile do you see I'm a CFO? So when you left the trading desk, what was the next step in your career?
Yeah, so I actually moved to the UK. So I decided to, when I made that move, I decided to get out of banking, and I wanted to leverage, my client facing roles and my sales expertise more to events. And so I started doing, I joined a company, IQPC, that did events in EMEA. So that was really interesting to me, because they were actually defense events. Believe it or not, I went from finance to defense. It was insane. So, some of the programs that I worked on were like military helicopter, armored vehicles. I'm not kidding. That brought together those
Wow.
communities.
So when you think about going from a very high stress, hardcore day-to-day environment of the finance banking industry and going to doing something like events in a completely different country, what were the differences that you really found in really shifting industries?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you're absolutely right. It was like night and day. I think, again, I went from like a gigantic corporation like a bank to a smaller one. So it was definitely more agile, which I did like. You know what I mean? So that you could make changes and affect change, and help your customers much easier. Decisions much easier to make. Another thing I liked, this company was really good in that they really like respected the sales process, and they were really hardcore into spin selling. And so we would have literally, they wanted you to read the book. They gave you the book, spin selling, which we know is a classic, right? And it's many sales really at least know about it, if not read it. But then we would do daily trainings, which I got to say were painful, but they made me
Mm.
better. So there was role plays, which are painful when you're new at that, and also recording your calls and listening to them as a team. And I'm talking about like an actual recorder that went into your phone. There was no gong when I did this, and it was brutal, Wesleyan. You know how hard it is to listen to your calls. Even now I'm like, I don't want to listen to myself, but it was so good, because it makes you better. Because if you could sit through the call and listen to the feedback, it was like, oh, I didn't realize I said so much, or I didn't realize I paused that long, or whatever it might be. That was, that training itself I took with me, and I focused on going forward. Like, hey, I can read books on my own. I can attend events on my own. I can hire a coach on my own. I don't need to simply strictly rely on a company. So that was a big ad for me.
That's huge, because I mean, even today there are a lot of companies that won't even give you a book to read. I mean, they're just like, here's our technical training. Now go figure out how to sell. And so to know that, back in those days, and not saying that you're old, but when you first were stepping into this world of sales, when we didn't have as much technology, a company was like, this is how we are going to help you. And what is really profound is the fact that they made you self-aware. And I think so many times as customer facing people, we are not self-aware. We don't know what we're doing well. We don't know what we're saying well. We know nothing because we are only reliant on what we think in our heads.
Oh, I could not agree with you more. And I think, like thinking about taking that and moving that to customer success, customer success is becoming much more commercial. And quite frankly, I think it's a necessary move. A lot of things that we talk about is we want a seat at the table. But if you don't own a revenue number of some sort, it's really hard to get like any realistic input because you're just seen as, a cost center. And so I think that like this sort of training, if you want, at the same time, if you want your CSMs to be commercial, you do need to train them. You need to offer them tools so they feel much more comfortable having those conversations. Because you and I know that, people are afraid of being salesy. But if you're really working with your customer, you understand their problems, you have solutions that can help them solve them problems and grow their business, they want to know about that.
So when we talk about customer success, because we have people from vast industries and backgrounds that listen to the podcast, help us understand what customer success is versus customer service, and really your role, how you work into the sales organization.
Yeah, that's such a good question because there is a lot of confusion about that. So I would describe customer success as proactive working with clients and customer service as reactively working with the clients. Now, both are very
Mm.
important. Both are part of the post-sale motion, but for customer success, it is more about like onboarding, implementing, and then ultimately, creating success and advocacy through your client. And that's a long-term process. Whereas, customer service is more, again, reactive. If there's a question or there's an issue while a customer is using the tool, we all know that there's every company around pretty much has some sort of an 800 number or service desk or something somewhere where they can go for those sort of things, password resets. And this is very important, right? We need those questions answered, quickly. On the success side, really the goal is to become more of a strategic advisor, and again, help our customers succeed with our solutions.
So it's really taking that, when a salesperson brings in the first sale, they close the first deal or whatnot, like ensuring that a customer truly has a good experience with the company, and really listening and opening your eyes for any kind of back end opportunities or other ways that you can work with that customer. And it might be in other service lines or other business lines.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a great explanation. And I think one of the things that we debate a lot, actually just recently as well with some peers, is the importance of onboarding. Because think about
Mm.
it, like we know how hard that there's that top of the funnel, which we both worked, and that's really hard to get a customer from, that top all the way through. Why ruin the experience, all that hard work that our sales folks have done by giving them a poor onboarding experience? That's their first experience once they've signed the dotted line. And once the contract signed, there's a lot of there's like almost that buyer's remorse. Like, did I make the right move? Make sure that first experience interaction is correct. And what I mean by that is that customers have a good handoff from sales to customer success. You don't make them repeat everything they've already told. Have that documented someone set somewhere centrally, right? Talk to them about what it is that they're looking. What does success look like for you? What are the sort of things we know basically what our solution does, but what do you want to get out of it? Establish, a joint success plan with value milestones. And then once you achieve them, make them aware of it. Clients want to know what the ROI is because we all serve somebody. They can go report it to their boss. And then it becomes like the right purchase, the right experience, and renewals are going to be much, much smoother.
The onboarding is key. I have literally signed contracts with organizations, and within 2 weeks, I'm like, nope, give me my money back. This is horrible, right? Because I'm like, all of the great sales that I got, and I literally liken it to, I have left doctors' offices because I love the doctor, but their front office sucks. Like, I can't make up, like, you don't return phone calls, all of those things. And so if you think about that in a very practical sense, is if you invest so much money in acquiring the customer, why wouldn't you want to invest more money on the back end to keep the customer? Because the cost of acquiring a new customer is probably 2, 3, 4, 10 times more than keeping and nurturing an existing one.
Oh, that's so true. That is 100% correct. And also too, it's one of the reasons why, like, in customer success, we look at things like, and want to understand customer segments, right? Because, your tier one customer doesn't have the same needs as maybe a tier three customer, right? So you're going to deal with them in different ways. We're also looking at things like the customer journey, right? What do they expect, or what's a best practice as they move through the funnel? And we know that it's not just a funnel. We know it's a bow tie, because once we've got them, the growth is on the backside. So let's make sure that we understand that they have hopefully we all shoot for the frictionless journey, but we really want to move them through it, and have it not be a mystery to them of what they can expect.
Mm, that's so good. I'm curious, how did a person who has all of these solid sales competencies, how did you get into the customer success world?
Well, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. And I love working with customers. That's number one. What I noticed, especially when I moved into tech, was that it's become transactional, because of how things are broken down, right? SDRs, AEs, account managers, CSMs, all the things. And for me, my most successful clients, and the ones that I enjoyed working with the most, were the ones that I could work with from start to finish and then continue to grow with them. So I understood the value of a customer, because I made those cold calls and moved them through the funnel. And it's such a delight when they finally close, because they're going to be, you want them to be successful with your solution. So when I started working in tech, I thought, I want to continue that conversation in the post sale motion, specifically customer success. That's where you get that time with them to learn and understand, help them grow, make them successful. And I know we say that a lot, but really, how we make them successful is understanding what business outcomes they want to achieve and getting them to that.
So you really were, and I tell everybody knows that I'm like a classic salesperson. I believe in a full cycle salesperson. And it sounds like in coming up through your sales career, that's what you did. You weren't just, let me call, make an appointment, or let me just do a discovery call and hand it off. You really wanted to hold that client's hand and allow and develop that relationship and help move them through, kind of like you said, it's a bow tie. So you're really starting the process again after they become a paying client.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. And I think, I'm firmly believe that anyone who's done full cycle sales is really understands the value of a client. I'm not saying that other salespeople don't. I think it's just different when you go through that pain of doing research, putting it in a spreadsheet, finding out who the contact is. You know what I'm talking about. This is old school, but this still goes on, right? And then making those phone calls, getting their attention, like, right, like, figuring out that hook, getting them to do the demo, getting them to get their executive buyers, the whole thing. It becomes like like, this is my little baby, and I want to make sure that nothing happens to them. I want to make sure that they grow with us. So that's spot on. Like, I really do. That helped me appreciate the value of the customer, and also too, just to be able to continue those conversations and helping them grow is something that I really enjoy.
Yeah, for me, it's the flying to Podunk, USA and renting a car and driving all around for, a couple of days, knocking on doors and doing demos and doing lunch and learns and meeting new people. And it's like when you go through all of those motions, you then sell them something and you want to see their success on the other side, right? So even when I was still selling a physical product and capital equipment and specialty chemicals, like when I got a call from someone who's like, oh my gosh, Wesley, we just published this Raising Research. We just developed this new product. We just did this or that. And it's because you helped us with whatever problem that we had, right? Or even now, when I have a client that I worked with a few years ago, and they're like, look at these numbers. Look how much work we've done, right? Like, so seeing that success, like, those are the things that excite me. And so when I think about people who are, because I get a lot of people like, should I go into sales? Do I want to go into sales? Do I want to do this or that? Like, I ask them these kind of questions. Like, what at your core, how do you like to interact with people? Are you okay with the handoff, or do you feel like I want to hold their hand through the process?
Oh, you know what? You just touched on something that I hear a lot about too, because people that are thinking of either pivoting to customer success or pivoting to sales, and those are the same similar questions I ask. And I think also too, I love what you said about jumping on a plane, going to the middle of nowhere, getting in a car and driving around. That you have to love that. You have to
Yeah.
want to do that. You have to have that sort of adventurous spirit and not be afraid of a conversation. Not be afraid of, like, going, I've never been there. going to go there today, right? Never talked to this customer, never met with them, but that kind of tension is exciting to you, and that kind of energizes you. But I don't think it's for everyone. I really don't. I think that having conversations, especially when it comes to like any sort of like contracting conversations, but
Ooh.
but I'm like, if you have a solution and it solves someone's problem, then you should be paid for that solution. Just like they, for their business, they charge whatever it is that they need to. If you're helping them be successful, it's just part of what it is. But I don't think it's for everyone.
Yeah. And I really think that it's important that you understand, and you don't understand and you don't know unless you try. Right. So don't shy away from the opportunity to take a position. I've spoken to people who have wanted to get into sales or marketing or customer success, and they've taken steps back. So they've gone from being managers to being individual contributors because they didn't have the skill set. And they realized, kind of like you mentioned when you worked at the company in the UK, that I can invest in myself. It's okay that I don't know everything. I'm going to delve deeper into the things that I want to learn on my own because it's important for me.
Yeah. Oh, it's 100%. That was a game changer for me, and it seems so obvious, but it really wasn't for me because early in my career, I just thought, hey. I'm a hard worker. Just show me, teach me everything, and I'll go do it. And that's fine because there should be a baseline of training from the companies. But if you want to take control of your career, take control of your career. And I think one of the ways
Mhm.
too that people don't think of, and maybe they're thinking of it more, is communities. I'm a strong believer in communities. I don't care what part of the business you're in, like marketing, sales, customer success, blow dryers, fax machines. I don't know what it is. There's a community for it. I guarantee you there is. And if you find those people, those are your people. If you go, that's a great place to expand your knowledge, to expand your network, to upskill, to have opportunities to collaborate, opportunities for new roles, all sorts of things. And I have found it incredibly empowering. And I definitely recommend it to everybody, whether they're pivoting or not. Like, I'm like, hey, if you're looking to grow in your career, you really want to just like take that next step. That's one of the factors, in addition to obviously books and podcast webinars, all the things to upskill yourself.
So tell me, how does somebody go about finding a reputable community that doesn't want to charge them an arm and a leg to be a part of, that they actually get the development that they need, the community that they need?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there's definitely a lot of some communities that charge, but I think there's a lot of free ones. I mean, I'm part of many, and I'm not charged for any of them. Now, there are others that again, and I think it really depends on what your needs are. But I think start talking to your immediate peers, right? People that are in your space. Hey, what do you do? Like, do you go? Are you part of any organizations or associations or institutes or whatever it might be? And quite frankly, I noticed it particularly during the pandemic when everybody was on lockdown. I'm in New York. They kept saying ground zero. Oh my goodness. I was like, please stop saying this is ground zero. It was really depressing. But I found these online communities, and I was selling at the time, and I was like, found sales communities, but I also joined marketing communities and customer success communities because I wanted to understand how everyone was handling what was happening, how they were
Mm.
pivoting, how they were responding, so that I could just get like a more of a 360 view. But so I think talk to the immediate peers. You don't necessarily have to pay. I think there's some organizations that are absolutely worthwhile because an investment in yourself is the best investment you can make.
Absolutely. And so I really think that when you're looking for community, if this is something brand new to you, just try. I always say, just most of them, whether they charge or they don't, you can always attend the first meeting or two for free. If it resonates with you, cool, go back. If it doesn't, there are so many tens of hundreds of different communities, and they're different platforms. If you're like, I sit in my home office all day and I never get out, so I want to go physically somewhere, there's something for you. If you're like, I really would rather do it on a Sunday afternoon when I'm getting ready for the week, there's something for you. So tap into the things that are important to you and find community, because I know for me throughout my career, community is what has helped me get to the places that I am. And it helps get you out of your little box because you're in your bubble in your head. And sometimes that bubble in your head needs to be buzzed so you can move out of your own way.
Oh, that's so well put. Our own box, and I love that you said that because we're here, right? Because we're living our lives and we're solving our problems. But I think you're right. That community gives you that broader perspective, and that allows you to bring that to your role, your job, your organization, your team, wherever, however you work, and you're going to help uplift others too with brand new ideas.
Awesome. So, one of the questions that I asked you when we first met When I found out you worked at NASDAQ, I was like, what do you guys sell? So what does NASDAQ actually even sell? So tell us more about what you guys sell and how you are helping customers.
Of course, of course. So I work for Nasdaq's fintech division, right? So there's the exchange where financial institutions will trade, and then there's the fintech arm. And so essentially, what we do is it's called Nasdaq Trade Surveillance, and we have a solution where customers can send us their trading activity for the day. We'll put it through our algorithms, and then it basically shoots out if there's any sort of strange or suspicious trading activity, and then it sends it back to the customer, and then they can investigate. And essentially it's for compliance managers to be compliant with the SEC. There's rules in place, and if the SEC calls you up and says we want to audit your books, you need to demonstrate that you have a program in place, and our tool helps do that for them.
That's so awesome. And I really want to highlight on how our experiences in life can set us up for success later on, right? Because the fact that you worked on a trading desk so many years ago, so you are really able to step into that customer's world because you get it. Right. And so that literally paved the pathway, even though you didn't go there directly, it really paved the pathway for you to step into this world. And as a customer success person, you are your customer's advocate. And how better to be their advocate than knowing their world? And that's what you really intimately know.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that too, because you're right. You don't know. Like, I think sometimes people think, and I think this has been talked about a lot by many people, that the career ladder goes like this. We know it's this. We know it's a jungle gym, right? And what you did in the past, you don't know, like this job today, how it's going to affect me in the future. And sometimes you do come full circle. So don't discount. And I think some people want to discount certain jobs, like, oh, I did that. You don't know. You had to learn something in every role that I've been in. Even when I was at a bakery when I was 16, whatever it might be, I learned customer service, right? Waiting on people. So don't
Yeah.
discount any of the jobs that you've had. And I certainly hope that you can find something, at least one thing, to take away from each role.
Absolutely. And when you said that, it made me remember way back in the day when I was on a very focused, like weight loss paradigm. I did Weight Watchers and I enjoyed it so much. Of course, I became a leader for Weight Watchers. And that was literally my first foray into facilitating large groups. And now I do that. That is a part of what I do, a service that I sell. I do trainings and I do coaching for large groups. And so, yeah, it was a small little job and I worked 3 or 4 hours a week, but it was kind of like a passion job. But every experience you have in life really sets you up for your future success.
Agreed. I could not agree more.
So, as we wrap up, I am curious, share an experience with us that has impacted the way that you show up, either personally or professionally.
Oh wow. Oh my goodness. There's so many. Let me think. Let me think. Honestly, we are more than our roles, right? And one of the things that I really like to do, I love to travel. I love new experiences. I guess again, that's probably why I like being with customers, right? Because every call, you think it's going to go this way, it goes that way. And I think this is funny. Like, in my 20s, I did that kind of Europe thing, like, like backpacking through Europe thing. Not crazy. I went to hotels, but you know what I mean? But I took a couple, and I went by myself. I was supposed to go with a friend. She bailed out, and I was going to bail on the trip. And I was like, you know what? It was for 2 weeks. I was completely stressed out, never been out of the country. But I decided I would go anyway. And it was
Mm-hmm.
stressful. It really was, but it was so much fun. I was in like, I couldn't talk to anybody. I was in like Germany and France and places like that. I did not know the language. I don't know why I didn't go to Spain. I speak Spanish. I skipped that. But anyway, anyway, my point is, I'm really glad that I took that chance, that I did the trip anyway, even though I was afraid, because I think that set the stage for me later on. First of all, the love of travel. I was like, yes, I want to see the things. I want to try the things. I want to do the things. And that kind of mindset of betting on myself. I'm like, you know what? One way or the other, I'll figure it out. And I think I've looked
Mm-hmm.
at that at every stage, whether personally or professionally. And I think that has impacted me.
That's so good. that first scary step into the unknown, and you're like, I don't know about this. But all of the things, kind of like we just talked about, the experiences, the impact that it really has on us and our life long term.
Definitely. Definitely. Yep. I'd recommend it.
Awesome. So, Cinthia, if people want to get in touch with you, what is the one best way?
Yeah, I would say, you can follow me on LinkedIn. I try to post regularly about customer success and some of my escapades travel wise. So yeah, if you want to connect with me, I'm always open to that. I love to learn and meet, my network because, that's how I get better. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Well, thank you so much for your time, your talent, and your expertise. It has been a pleasure stepping into the world of customer success with you.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you so much. And that was another episode of the Transform Sales Podcast. Remember, in all that you do, transform your sales.